So what do you do if you're not going to buy the 2024 Toyota Tacoma? What other choices are there out there? You know, I've had, man, I would say a lot of comments on the channel that are just like that they're not going to buy the 2024 Tacoma, that they're going to go to a different brand because they don't like the 4-cylinder turbo engine, or they just don't like the redesigned look and even the space inside the new Tacoma. I think a lot of us were expecting, because of that cap they have on the top now, like an extension, that it was going to be bigger all over. It seems like Toyota really only gave us a little bit more headroom, of which of course I don't really need myself, but that's just me. So what are your other options? There are a few, I think. Number one, you could completely leave the mid-size market and go to a full-size truck. Now, full-size, you've got all kinds of options. Chevy, Ram, Ford, you've got the Tundra. But there's problems with the Tundra right now. So you might actually have to leave the brand altogether. Go with something like an F-150. Actually, I think if I was to go full-size and didn't stay within the Toyota family, I'd probably go with a Ram, just because I think it's really the best looking full-size truck on the road. But what would you do if you're going to go full-size? I'd be curious to know. Next, you could stay in the mid-size market. You know, there are several other offerings out there. We'll start with the biggest one, the Ford Ranger. But the problem with the Ford Ranger is it's a 4-cylinder turbo. Unless they produce something else, this Ranger Raptor thing, that might be kind of cool, but it's a heck of a lot of money, right? So you could get a 4-cylinder turbo, but are you going to be really any better off? I mean, you're going to have Ford's quality and reliability to contend with. I still say Toyota beats them no matter what's happening with the new Tacoma right now. So I wouldn't want to go that route. I've had Rangers in the past. They were very pedestrian, very industrial. I didn't really like them. I would never buy one again, although if I'm being honest, this Ranger Raptor sounds kind of interesting, but I'm not going to spend the kind of money you'd have to spend to get one of those. Next up, you've got the Chevy Colorado, which actually I think is probably the best looking of the other options. Maybe even considering the Tacoma if you don't like the new body style. I think it's a good updated truck. It looks good. Plenty of room inside, it would appear. Oh, and speaking of room, I've had reports by some vertically gifted people out there that there's plenty of room inside the Ford Ranger for them. Now, I haven't been in a Ford Ranger for years now, so maybe that's true. Maybe you get more room out of a Ranger, and if you are vertically gifted, then it's the truck for you for that reason. But the Chevy Colorado, I do like the looks of it. I don't like particularly that it's a Chevy. Not that I have anything against Chevys particularly. I looked at a full size a few years ago, although I really didn't like the interior of that one, to be honest. But I do like the exterior appearance. I think they've done a really good job at staying truck looking, which is always good, and offering a really good looking truck. Lastly, probably the one that gets mentioned the most, and that is the Nissan Frontier. A lot of people have talked about going to the Nissan Frontier, what is it, Pro X, I think. Not a bad looking truck, really, but it's starting to look pretty dated to me. It's kind of like what a lot of people were saying about the Tacoma and the Tundra a few years ago, that they look dated. I don't agree with that as far as the Tacoma goes. I think it still looks fine the way it is in the 3rd gen. And they probably should have just made little tweaks to it instead of completely changing it. But nonetheless, I think the Nissan Frontier looks old. And it's brand new. I was looking at some online the other day, just curious about the Pro X trim line. And I was not impressed. It did not look good on the interior to me. It did not look good on the exterior at all. I mean, it was all right, but it didn't knock my socks off. There's nothing in looking at that truck where I would start to get that itch, you know, and think, gee, maybe I ought to try out a Nissan. No, not for me. But a lot of people are. A lot of people have said to me that they're interested. Now, talk is cheap, I realize. But it'll be interesting to see if Nissan is able to take a bigger bite out of the market because of people's dislike of this new Tacoma. There is one more which I hesitate to throw into the truck category because it's always a big argument, and that is the Honda Ridgeline. I will say the Honda Ridgeline has made great strides over the years in becoming more, at least, truck looking. I think that looks the best now that it ever has. Of course, that's if you get it in their Black Night Edition. I think it's actually a pretty good looking truck, and it has some cool features in it. You know, that bed that has the opening compartment where you can put stuff down below, that kind of side swinging tailgate if you want to use it. I think you can also put it down the normal way, kind of like the Chevy thing. It's stuff like that I think that maybe Toyota should have done a little bit more with in the new Tacoma. It's kind of neat little fatty, that's F-A-D-D-Y, things that I think keep things interesting, keep things more modern. And Honda's done a great job with that. Now, otherwise, I'd say the Ridgeline kind of feels like an SUV with a bed on the back. Kind of like people talk about the Santa Cruz. You know, it's not really a truck. It's an SUV. Of course, it's built on the SUV platform. But then again, aren't the Toyota Tacoma and a couple of the other models going to be built on the same frame and platform anyway? So it's kind of the same thing. You can't really use that argument anymore. I do think it's a truck. It has a bed. It is hauling and towing capable. Maybe not quite as much as some other models out there, but nonetheless, it still has the ability to get jobs done. So those really are the options. You know, for me, is there anything else out there that would tempt me? I think I've kind of already answered that already, and the answer is no. There's no other truck out there that, when I look at it as compared to the Tacoma, the new Tacoma, the 2024, that I would even have the slightest interest in at the moment. There's just nothing exciting out there, and I think we may be entering a period of just normalcy when it comes to mid-size trucks. You know, it used to be a little bit more exciting, I think, back when they first started, everybody first started to jump back on the mid-size bandwagon again. You remember, for a while, there were only two trucks you could get, the Nissan Frontier and the Toyota Tacoma. Everybody else jumped out until they got popular again. Of course, we do have the mini or micro trucks. There's all kinds of rumors out there about Toyota bringing back the Stout in a mid-size truck form. I don't know if they're going to do that or not. It'll be very interesting to see, and I suppose it all depends on whether or not the popularity of those models continues. You know, they were really very popular over the last couple of years. And if that continues, I don't think Toyota's going to have any choice. They're going to have to jump into the micro truck market just to maintain presence, I think. So anyway, you know, I don't know. Are there really any good alternatives out there? If you happen to be one of those folks who don't like and are not going to stick with the Tacoma, I think the only alternative is to buy a good low mileage used third generation Tacoma. At least you can have a good truck and keep what you like. Leave a comment. Let me know if you're one of those folks that are considering leaving the Tacoma truck or the Toyota brand. What else are you looking at buying and why? I'd just be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there.